Now, the next thing that we want to really do is, now that we've fully visualized what we're actually doing on the project, we can see this in our head, the different ceiling heights, the walls, everything that we need. The next thing we want to really do is we want to basically build ourselves a checklist. We want to make sure that we don't forget anything that we need to do. So we want to actually go through, build ourselves a checklist. So on electrical, we could go through and make sure that, you know, whatever we read in the spec books, if it's a 15 amp plug required, or 20 amp, or a special color, or a special plate, design, Decora or standard, these different things. You want to build yourself up a nice little checklist so that when you're actually doing the takeoff, it's something that you don't have to keep referring back to to that spec book or back to those notes. The way that we like to do it in here is when you read something, you want to really basically take it off, and follow that branch out. And then once you're done there, even if it leads you to other pages, then you come back. But again, that's more stuff that we'll get into on later episodes. But for right now, build your checklist. Make sure that you have all your information down that you would really need to make sure that you're not forgetting anything. Now, the next thing that we want to actually do is we want to actually talk about qualifiers, because some of the things, you as a formal contractor, John, you definitely know when you're putting out those bids, you really want to have accurate qualifiers in there. And what we're talking about is when you're reading these spec books, and let's just say it's like we talked about earlier on trenching. If we're not going to include that trenching, we want to make sure that we put that in there. Proposal does not include trenching, even if it calls out for it on here, because you're going to be held responsible for that. Now, what are some of the other qualifiers that you have seen in your trade, and maybe even some of what they could actually use in their different types of trades that would be helpful to them?
Some of the other qualifiers are the light fixture package, the gear package, transformers.
So you would want to say like
generator.
Proposal includes the light fixture package, or transformer.
Absolutely, because you're going to run into some of those jobs where the light fixture package or the gear package may be supplied by a national account, and you want to make sure that you're excluding that, but putting in the time for the labor, and make sure that it's spelled out on your qualifier that you're going to install the owner provided package or the national account provided package, but you're not buying the package.
So another good qualifier for you would probably be like temporary power, if you're going to include it or not include it. Or for any other type of trade, whether it's plumbing, electrical, mechanical, whatever trade you're in, if it's a remodel renovation project, maybe there's some demo on that project, whether or not you're going to include the demo or they're going to include it. Another good thing about demolition is that you got to make sure that you're talking about the spoils removal. Once you actually demo that whole project, who's going to be responsible for cleaning that up and getting it off job sites? So you really want to talk to your contractor, the owner, the people that you're actually submitting this bid to, and you really want to make sure you find out who's going to provide the dumpster, because if they're not going to provide it and they're expecting you might get stuck for it if you don't actually put that qualifier in there. So it's really, really good and important to get very informative on your qualifiers. Includes, excludes, really spell them out. Don't be afraid to get wordy with them. It's okay to be a wordy Willard out there when it comes to qualifiers, because you really want to protect yourself, and that's really the only thing that's going to be able to protect you.
Another good one too to look for is sales tax. The project you're working on may be a government job, and it might be tax exempt. So you want to make sure that you check that out in the spec before.
Or prevailing wage, or any of those types of things. Or overtime, that's another big one. If it's going to be a project that's after hours, you're only really going to find that out usually in the specification book or on the plan somewhere. So you really want to make sure that you really study these things and learn them, because if you have overtime or after hours work, you really want to make sure that you're telling in your proposal that includes after hours work, or if it doesn't clarify or exactly spell out exactly what you need to do, maybe a good qualifier on there would be proposal includes work to be done during normal business hours, just to kind of safeguard yourself. So all these little things are really nice, helpful tips to just basically, all it is protect yourself. Protect yourself as a contractor, and getting those qualifiers down on those proposals is really the key.